The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now, from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here are your hosts of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard and Taylor Welch.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for May 3rd, 2026. This is season 15, episode number 70, and episode number 584 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. If you're listening and you're from Binghamton, you're going to want to listen to this episode all the way through. We've got two great interviews with part two interviews with two of your favorite players. If you're a PD fan and you're just checking in to see what we're going to say, you should really pay attention because we have a lot of things to talk about, and we will talk about here in this show about the two games that I thought were different from each other, but very much made this 5-game series very exciting. So I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And welcome to the Power Play Post Show. And let's talk about it first, getting the split. How important was it after losing game one for the Black Bears to tie this series up, Taylor, and get this and get the split? And let's be honest, the two games were completely different between Friday night and Saturday night.
They were very different. I think, each team executed, their respective games very well. And I honestly think that both teams did play great games. I think the split is good for both teams. And the reason I say that is going into this, Binghamton has never lost a game going into the finals like this.
Right.
So I think it was kind of a good step for them to realize that they really have to work for this. Like, it's not just going to be laid out and kind of simple, which it's the finals. You wouldn't expect it to be, but it kind of showed them that you really have to, you got to dig deep, and this is the final stretch. And same goes for PD. I mean, they made it to the finals in their inaugural season. I know they're very proud of that, and they should be.
Yeah.
But on the other end of that, it's kind of like when Columbus had that really good run and they were like the top of the league. They were leading everything. They were like and I don't want to say over cockiness, but it's almost like you got too cocky to a point, and then you get to the finals. Well, they didn't even make it to the finals that year. Twin City had beaten them out, and we ended up facing Twin City. And so it's almost like I feel like it was a good thing for PD to kind of face that and kind of have, that high of having the win the first game and then having to come back and realize that just because you won that first game doesn't mean that you're going to just automatically kind of get that second win kind of thing, even though it was home ice advantage for them. And, there's a lot of comments made about the ice, but at the end of the game, it's whatever about the ice. It's the same thing with the whole ref situation. So the split, I truly do believe, is good for both teams, and I think it's going to make this series even better. I had said several times about, the Port Huron series was great to watch. It really was an interesting series, and I kind of have a feeling that this could play out the same kind of way, where it's going to be, tooth and nail to the end, and I truly hope it would be. It's the finals, and, you really want to see the best of the teams kind of come out and see who wants the cup more, and I think that could be what it comes down to.
What I took out of the first two games, beyond the games themselves, is how good this league has become. That a first-year team could go all the way to the finals, and what they did in game one is freaking impressive. What they did, how they came out, how they played, how they took it to Binghamton was impressive. And it just told me that the league itself has gotten so much better, and that the players that have come into this league are so much better than it was 5 years ago when Binghamton first came into this league. There were some good players, but it wasn't like this. The game is structured so much better now today than it was 5 years ago. And realistically, all PD has shown is that you can bring in a good general manager, a good head coach, and plan throughout the season and make changes when you need to make changes. And listen, let's be honest. They made most of their changes within the league, which I kind of laugh at a little bit because I know teams will trade within the league with other teams, where Brant Sherwood hasn't really done that in his reign as probably the top bench boss there is right now in the league. In his reign, he's gone out of the league. He's brought in people from college and from the SP and the ECHL to come in and play here, and which has helped improve the league in a different way. What PD did, winning game one and making it to the finals, has proved that this league has just gotten better. Do we still have our rough teams that, struggled mightily and probably, puts still a, black mark on the league a little bit, like the Biloxi's and what Watertown went through this past year, which, by the way, we should bring it up. There is a new owner of the Watertown Wolves that was announced a couple days ago. They announced Brett Clark is coming back to the Watertown Wolves as the head coach. He won the championship in 2014 and 15 and 21-22, which was the last year that Andreas owned the team. He's come back, so that's great news for Watertown, and he should be able to bring in good players and hopefully make that team competitive, which is something that you and I need to talk about during the summertime, about the competitiveness for Binghamton Black Bears, because when we get back to PD now, I don't think we knew how competitive this league really was because we didn't play enough teams who were as good as PD and Carolina and Athens. We just did not. Oh, Port Huron we did 8 times, but that's a totally different story. But Taylor, I think that what I saw this weekend between these two teams was how much better the first 2 games of the finals were than 5 years ago.
It definitely did. And if anything, it kind of goes to show that if you have the correct formula, I'll put it, that you can get as far as we have. And I know that's kind of the big stink right now is everyone's so mad at Binghamton for being here for the 3rd time in a row. Mm-hmm. And you kind of have to look at it that we haven't made many changes the last 3 years. And people that's one of the big grumbles about Binghamton is, well, they haven't made any changes. Well, why would we?
Yeah.
That we won back-to-back champions. Why would you change something that is obviously successful and it's obviously working? There's nothing to change about that. And that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
There's a winning formula here, and that's what Brant has instilled here in Binghamton, the thing that he has created. And PD has had a successful formula for them in their inaugural season. So it's not that it can't happen because PD went and did it.
Yeah.
They went and they had something that was structured. They have all the resources that they need to be able to get it done. And they have the team well enough put together that they can execute when they need to execute. And as far as, competitiveness, I really hope, because I know one of the comments was with the new and, quotations there, owner for the Watertown Wolves coming in, is that it's going to make things more competitive for Binghamton. And I truly hope that's the case. I really do.
Me too.
I hope that we get the competitiveness. I hope it's hard for Binghamton next year. I hope that we face teams and it's a struggle and it's not, a 10-1 game when we go up to Watertown and, it's those games where you're like, oh, well, we're facing them again. And it's not really anything to look forward to. So I really do hope that this is the change that Watertown needs and that it really works out for them.
So how?
And
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, as far as, the competitiveness with Port Huron versus, Athens or PD, I do think they're complete opposite ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah.
Port Huron is very physical. I'm not saying that they don't have talent on their team.
They do.
But they use their physicalness and that to kind of get them ahead. Where, PD and Athens and even Columbus use what they have in their arsenal to get goals. And they have, great forwards and good defense. And that's what they use. They don't necessarily use the physicalness of, throwing bodies every 5 seconds to kind of get ahead. And I think that's kind of the big difference, is that we kind of had to adapt to that as we played Port Huron and a couple other teams throughout this year, which is something that Binghamton isn't really known for, as much as people would probably disagree with me, where, I kind of wish we did face more continental teams just for that reason.
100%.
We love facing Twin City, and there's a reason for that. It's because they play good hockey. And I know Twin City kind of had their ups and downs this year, but it still doesn't, deter the fact that they were still a good team when we faced them.
Well, they came in and won 2 games against us in a weekend. We haven't lost 2 games in the same weekend in 2 years. And they did that. They came in and they did that. And they opened up my eyes to thinking, holy crap, we're playing Watertown and Danbury way too much because they can't compete with us. But teams like PD and Carolina could. Well, I'm sorry, Twin City could. But Taylor, let's get back to the point of the matter. How important was it that Binghamton won game 2?
It was very important. It's, it was expected of them, in my opinion. And I think it really sets the tone coming into Binghamton for the next couple games of, what each team kind of needs to do moving forward. I think it was really big for PD. Just because, and I say this lightly, I don't mean, support your team as much as possible. I know PD, their fans have been absolutely phenomenal with supporting their team this season, and they should be. They had a great showing of, their attendance there, which I don't know how many people can fit into that arena. But the arena is massive, and I truly hope they continue to get that support in the years to come.
Yeah, it's great for the league.
I think it was a good thing for PD to kind of be set back because, they faced Athens and they absolutely annihilated them.
Yep.
And then they faced Columbus and they had very close games with Columbus, but they were able to turn it around, and those third periods really helped them against Columbus. And then obviously the overtimes that they had, they were able to squeeze those out. So I think for Binghamton to kind of shut them down and not allow goals after nothing happened in the third period for anybody. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was kind of a big stepping stone for both teams. So I think it was really big for Binghamton to go in there and get that win. No,
it was huge. And of course, you don't want to go into game 3 being down 0-2. Yes, you're going to be on home ice. Yes, you're going to have the ice that you're used to because, again, people talk about this all the time, right, with the Pee Dee ice. Well, guess what? They play on it all the time, so the ice isn't really bad to them because they play on that ice all the time. I made a joke in our group chat that you and I have, and I said, boy, does the video on what I'm watching look like the old Boston Gardens, the way it looked back when they were on, I think, Channel 38 out of Boston, with the way the lighting was. Now, I know they improved their lighting, but when I was sitting there watching, I was going, Jesus, am I watching the Boston Bruins from the early 1980s? Because that's what it looked like to me. It's so strange. I know they have new lighting, and I don't know what's going on really with the ice. I don't know if the ice plant needs to jack up the coolant a little bit to make it, get it a little bit more frozen and look a little bit more shiny because, after about 5 minutes of the players being on there, it looked rough. But the lighting, the way it was coming down, I'm like going, and the cameras that they had, and Tom said that they got brand new cameras, but man, that whole thing reminded me of an early 1980s Boston Bruins game from the Boston Gardens. It was weird to see completely. And now I'm completely off track, Taylor. I told you earlier today you were going to have to keep me on track. But they're coming back to Binghamton now for 3 straight games. They're going to play on their regular ice. I think that now that it's a best of 3 series, right? We go from best of 5, you split the first 2 games. Now you're at a best of 3. Winning game 3, I can't even tell you how important that is. You could talk about how important winning game 1 was for PD, and I think it was hugely important for them to win game 1. And obviously, Binghamton had to react and recover and come back and win game 2. But there is no bigger game right now in this series than game 3. It really, really does come down to how game 4 will be played on Saturday night. Will be determined by who wins game 3. 100%, because you have to think about, is Binghamton going to do things different? Because we saw a kind of shift in the forwards there. Yeah. A different lineup than we've seen from the rest of the playoff series. And I remember looking at the game going, this is either going to make it or break it right now for them. It was either going to make a huge difference and they were going to play differently than they did on Friday night when they got the loss, or it was going to be like a very much everybody's on the edge of their seat wondering what's going to happen next type of series. And so it kind of makes you wonder, are they going to go with that kind of mindset? And is that going to be the lineup from here on, against PD, and to see if it
carries on, or are they going to go back to the way it was, with the forwards? So it's very much, it's so much back and forth. I know it was kind of like everybody was talking, it was everybody's pointing fingers. Everybody's talking about this. Everybody's talking about that. It came down to PD played better on Friday. That's really all it was. And Binghamton played better on Saturday. I know we had discussions about other things and about other players on the team and stuff like that, but I am pretty proud of how Binghamton was able to turn it around and use it to their benefit for Saturday. And I hope that they can do the same exact thing coming into this weekend, and that, they are able to get on the board at, fairly early going into the game and just kind of shut PD down from there, because it seemed to work well. And, I would have liked more than a 1-goal cushion, just because it's the comfort zone.
Yeah.
But, to kind of shut them down completely and not really let too many things happen, or to be able to recover quickly, I think that was a really key thing. And to just kind of take that third period and just, play the best defense you possibly could, I think really was a game changer. And I don't think PD had an answer for it.
They did.
And so you kind of it makes you wonder if they're going to come into this weekend, do they have an answer now, or are they not able to kind of to face our defense like that and be able to outdo them?
Well, what's interesting is Binghamton really hasn't had a blowout game since realistically the one game in Topeka, or the one game against Topeka, right? Realistically, the Black Bears in the Port Huron series, the 2 wins that they had was 1-0 and 2-1. And now they've had a 2-1 win, and they've lost both of their games against Port Huron and PD, basically 5-2 or 5-1, 5-2. When they lose, they lose. When they win, they are doing it in a way that I think is above level from what other teams can do in this league. I think a lot of times teams in this league, and this is right now the difference between Binghamton and the rest of the league. And pay attention, folks. This is important. If you're listening from another team, this is the difference. The difference is Binghamton can shut you down defensively. They can get 2 goals and beat you. They can ask Twin Cities how many times they've lost to Binghamton 1-0 in the last 3 years. It's a lot. The number you could almost fill one hand with how many times they beat Twin Cities 1-0. The difference between Binghamton and the rest of the league, Binghamton can score just like anybody else. They were the most scoring team in the regular season. In the playoffs, when defense wins you championships, which I hear all the time, this year is more that than any of the other 2 years. The other 2 years, Binghamton was winning games 4-2, 4-1, 3, stuff like that. Yes, against Carolina, the one time 1-0, right? They shut out Port Huron twice last year at home. My point here is this. When Binghamton needs to buckle down, play defense, and beat you, they can do that. And they can do that for 60 minutes. Or in the case of Saturday night against PD, they played a very puck possessive game in the first period, took a lot of shots. Once they had their 2 goals, they shut it down. They stopped with trying to take a lot of shots and more so control the puck and shut you down defensively. And the funny thing is, as good as all the shooters are in this league, and Twin City and Carolina have had them over the last 3 years, they've never had an answer to when Binghamton starts to shut down and just play defense. And that is a really big key. And I don't know if PD can figure that out in the next 4 days before they play on Friday.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. And a huge key point of that as well is the penalty kill.
Yeah.
That is a very defensively strong strategy there. And when Binghamton is able to come into a penalty kill and control the puck more than the people on the power play, that is a problem for your team.
It is. Okay, so
that is Binghamton shutting you down the entire way and not even giving you a chance when they are down a man. And that's something that I really paid attention to on Saturday, was the amount of times that Binghamton was shorthanded, especially in that second period.
Yeah.
But their ability to, waste time by chasing the puck so they couldn't even get set up, which they didn't have control of the puck or possession of the puck then, but you weren't able to leave your zone, which is the same thing in my opinion. If you can't leave the zone and enter the other zone, you're screwed anyways. But on top of that, if they could get possession, they just pinned it against the boards and wasted as much time as possible, which also worked to their favor.
It did.
So either way, they were doing whatever they could on the PK to limit the amount of any chance you had at getting set up, any chances you had on net. They were doing whatever it took. And a couple of penalties, I was just kind of it's whatever. It does make you nervous when they go, they get a penalty and, they get sent to the box and stuff like that. But there are certain times where you kind of you take it and you're like, I'm fine with the penalty because it meant they couldn't get a goal or, in certain situations like that.
All right, Taylor, let's talk about the double minor controversy. Now, there's a lot of fans that are up in arms because traditionally in hockey, whenever you're trying to clear the puck or shoot the puck down the ice or take a shot on the goaltender and your stick comes up and it hits a defender in this case, right? Because you have control of the puck and then you're trying to send the puck down the ice. In this particular case, with Charlie Bedard and what he was trying to do, generally they would say, oh, that's a follow through hit. It's, doesn't matter if you're bleeding, doesn't matter if you break your nose, doesn't matter if your head gets chopped off. It didn't really matter. Hockey was a violent sport for a very long time. And they've slowly but surely tried to say, well, safety might be more of an important thing here, right? And so over the last 20 or so years, ever since they started to take the clutch and the grab out, which was the time that Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin came into the game, they started tweaking the rules a lot, especially in the NHL. And that's always carried down to the lower levels. And right now, if you're listening and you're wondering, yes, it's still the same thing in the playoffs. The FPHL is using a hybrid version of the NHL rule book. And one of the things in the NHL rule book is that if you are clearing the puck or taking a shot or passing the puck and your swing is deemed by the referees as a wild swing at the puck and it comes up above the shoulder, hits a player in the face or in the head and creates a cut or causes the person to bleed, it's considered an injury. They're going to call it a double minor for high sticking. I understand you guys are all thinking, nope, it's a follow through. That doesn't count. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. If you watch the play and you see what he does, he swings at the puck. I don't think Charlie Bedard did anything ill-intended. I don't think he was trying to chop Tyson Kirkby's head off. But unfortunately, you do control your own stick, and you have to, there are consequences for you doing certain things. He did swing. It went way up in the air, and it did hit Tyson pretty hard. Now, for all of you guys to say that Tyson's flopping and, playing it up, every freaking hockey player plays it up at least at one point in their career. Every single one, even on PD and even on Port Huron and especially on the Danbury hat trick. So don't think that you guys are better than anybody else. I'm not going to entertain that stupid thought because I see that way too much on Facebook, on all these stupid groups. Okay. My point here is this. It was deemed a wild swing. Now, before anyone says, well, the refs here suck. What you people don't remember or don't realize, they brought in a special referee for the two games down in PD. His name is Bob Langdon. He has over 30 years of refereeing at the second highest level and down. And he has been in the NHL as a referee as well. Bob Langdon, I know from my AHL days, he was refereeing games back in the 2000s in the AHL. They reviewed the play. They could have, during the review, because there was an injury and it was called a double minor on the ice, they could have said, you know what, that was a follow through. We're not going to call that a penalty. And they could have cleared it off the boards, but they didn't. So stop blaming the refs for a loss. It is the oldest and worst crybaby move by a fan base there is, including Binghamton fans. When it happens, stop it. It's stupid. You look like idiots. You look like you don't understand the game. And it drives me absolutely bonkers. It's the reason why I don't entertain a lot of those posts and I don't talk about a lot of those things, because it's stupid. The referees do not score goals. They do not stop pucks. Do they alter the way the game might be played a little bit? Yes, but they do not score goals. They do not do any of the other things that causes a game to be decided one way or the other, okay? Players still make the decisions to do stuff. Charlie still hit Tyson Kirkby, caught him open. Get over it. Get the frick over it. And then you had the night before when Patrick Sparsikevich gets, and by the way, it's the best I've ever said his name on air, so kudos to me on that one. I'm happy about that. He literally tries to headbutt a Binghamton player, okay? And you're all freaking out about that. Get over it. It happens in a game, just like the double minor for hitting Tyson in the head. And you know what? If that was Tyson doing that, Taylor, and this is where I want you to comment.
I was just going to say that.
If this was Tyson,
if
this was Tyson doing it, every single one of those people from Port Huron and from Danbury, because listen, I see you idiots out there. I do. I see your comments, right? And this is the reason why I'm having a little bit of an argument with a couple people from Port Huron. They want to bring up running Cooper Reed all the time, but they don't ever want to talk about what the guys on Port Huron do. And when you bring it up, they get a little quiet and they'd stop wanting to talk, okay? But if this was Tyson Kirkby that swung that stick and hit Bedard in the face, that was definitely a double minor. Oh, he should have been kicked out of the game. He should have been, because that was intentional. And you would say that. And you guys triggered me. Congratulations, you won. You triggered me into freaking out on my own show about something stupid like that. But you know what? It didn't now, yes, we did score on the power play. It was a 5-on-3, and we did score. Austin DeRazio got his official first goal of the finals, right? Or the playoffs, the finals. And so, without a doubt, that there was an effect there. It did happen, but again, it was the right call. It was a double minor for hitting him. And by the way, the puck went backwards. It never even went forwards, because when he did touch the puck, it hit Tyson's skate and then went backwards. It's a wild swing. Whew. You can talk now. I'm done.
Oh, well, I mean, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. And I'm convinced, like 100%, that the other fan bases, the other teams, everybody else in this league hates Brant Sherwood and Tyson Kirkby so much that it does not matter what they do. They are going to be wrong in everybody else's eyes.
Yeah.
We're the dirtiest team in the league. We are this, we are that, we're this, that, and the third.
But then the referees are on our side.
What do we do this season? Well, we tighten it down. We don't get into the scrums and the fights and the altercations and all this. We're the second to least penalized team in the league. The only one lower than us is Twin City, and that should shock nobody.
Yeah.
But yet we're somehow still the worst of the worst. And it's again, if it was anybody, if they hit anybody else on our team, probably wouldn't have been such a big issue. If it was Tyson that did that, 100%, the uncensored page would be set on fire with the amount of bashing against Tyson.
Yeah.
Like the amount of hate that Tyson gets. This is probably why Tyson acts the way that he does, because the amount of people that hate him, like, do you think he gives a second thought to what people say about him online or the way people react to him in games when he goes home at night? He's married. He's got cats. Like, I don't think once he steps off that ice, I don't think he cares about anything that happened during that game. And he probably forgot about it.
And
I truly don't think.
And let's be fair. I'm the reason why he doesn't give a rat's ass about what any of you fans say about him. I'm the guy that I pissed him off so bad 3 years ago. He hasn't had a legitimate conversation with me. So he doesn't give a rat's ass what any of you people say about him. He still took a double minor to the face, and you guys are saying that's the reason why you guys lost the game. Or a lot of people are saying that's the reason why they lost the game. No, it's not the reason why they lost the game. Black Bears played phenomenal defense, and PD tried. Don't get me wrong. PD worked their asses off in that game, and they tried. They just couldn't crack Binghamton after they took that 2-0 lead.
The only gripe that I have about the officiating this entire weekend.
Yes.
And this isn't even because I wanted a penalty so we could be on the power play for 2 minutes. The only gripe that I had was when one of the Marcinkiewicz kids lost their helmet and they still shoved somebody after their helmet was off, and there wasn't a call.
Wait, wasn't that what Kyle did?
Because that's the same thing that Stefan did. What, the game prior to that one? Well, the game prior to this series?
Yeah.
And he gets the minor for,
playing,
helmet off and playing with his helmet off.
Yep.
But you don't give it to them, and you can't tell me that they didn't see. He was right next to it.
Yeah.
Right next to it when it happened. It's pretty noticeable when a player's helmet comes off. And to me, that's, again, just the whole safety thing. It's just like the whole double minor thing. Look at it from a safety perspective.
Yeah.
You can say if it was intentional, unintentional. I don't even care about that. You are still in charge of your stick, just like you are still in charge of your skate. Mm-hmm. You are literally skating on a sharp knife, essentially.
Yeah.
You're in charge of that.
Yeah.
If you've never been hit with a hockey stick, I truly hope you never have to, but it's not pleasant. People get hit with pucks. It's not pleasant.
Oh, God, pucks are worse. One of the, I think pucks are worse.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure it depends because, we've seen guys do like a baseball swing with a stick, and I'm sure that's probably pretty bad.
It is.
But, you watch these guys get hit with the puck after, someone takes a shot and they either go to deflect it and get hit with it, and they're stinging for a while.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. You are in charge of your stick. It's that simple. It's player safety above everything else. You want to be mad about it, then be mad about it.
Yeah.
But the refs in no way, shape, or form can score a goal for you.
Yeah.
You had every opportunity, especially that second period. You had every opportunity, but it just you weren't able to execute. It's that simple.
We'll get to that. Now, again, game 3 is huge for both teams. Obviously, it's a deciding factor, but more than likely, I think it's very close. Binghamton will be sold out on Friday. And because there is a game 4 guaranteed, Binghamton fans, the offices will be back open on Monday. Go start, annoy the crap out of the team office. Just go in there, ask them questions. They don't care. Just get there and buy some freaking tickets, right? Because you know that there's going to be Pee Dee IceCats fans that are going to come up, right? Because what if their team wins on Saturday and wins the championship, right? They're going to want to be there. So let's not let them really get tickets. Let's sell the tickets to Binghamton fans. Let's get in there as quickly as we can and buy as many tickets for game 4 on Saturday night. So do that. Make sure that the Binghamton Black Bear staff is very, very busy all week long, selling out Saturday as well. No, can we get 7,867 fans in our barn? We cannot. The Pee Dee IceCats are...
That would be rough.
Yeah, especially in our barn. We have a decent-sized barn. Don't get me wrong. 4,893 is not too bad. We have gotten it up to 5,000 twice for both of the championship games. But we're not getting 7,800 in there. We're not getting 5,933 in there. Congratulations to the Pee Dee IceCats fans. Again, Taylor and I are impressed. We're impressed the way your team has played. We're impressed with the way the fans have turned out because we want continued success within this league. We want competitive teams and we want competitive organizations because it's only going to make this league better.
The one thing that I truly hope that comes out of this is that, if PD comes into this weekend and they lose to the Binghamton Black Bears, is that the fan base is so supportive of the team that they do the same exact showing up as they did this season, and that continues on. Because that's something that you and I talk about all the time is, at some point fan attendance is going to drop. And we're talking about our own fans.
Yeah, we're talking about
Binghamton. You've been very shocked to see that our attendance has gotten better each season somehow. And it's one of those things where at some point it's either going to stagnate or it's going to drop.
Yes.
And, so for Pee Dee's sake, I hope, keep showing up, keep supporting your team, keep doing that. Because that's something that a couple other fan base or, other teams, and it's hard for teams that have smaller arenas. I understand that. But even if your arena holds 1,000 people and you're only getting 300, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
Truthfully, keep showing up for your team. And if Pee Dee Ice fans do come to the arena for Friday and Saturday, be as nice as possible.
Yeah.
Be a good fan base.
Because we're going to be jerks.
Please, for the love of God.
Because we're going to be jerks. We always are. There we have a few bad apples in our barn that are going to be jerks.
Everybody does.
Yes, everybody does, and they're going to raise their hands and they're going to do that. But hopefully, at the end of the game, everybody can just turn and look at each other and say, "Great game. Hey, drive safely. If you're going home to whatever." Just be pleasant after the game. During the game, be however you want to be, as long as you're not throwing punches or throwing cheese on my Binghamton Rangers jersey when I'm up in Rochester. That's fine. But during the game, be nasty to each other because that's okay, because that's part of the game. But afterwards, shake their hand, wish them well, show them how to get to one of the local restaurants. And I'm talking to our Binghamton fans there a little bit. Okay. I need to take a breath. I need a breather. Maybe we need to do a commercial break now and then come back and read the must-reads. All right. We're going to talk more about these games here. We still have stuff to talk about. The Power Play Post is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post on your favorite app and don't forget to subscribe. And by the way, there are two very, really good sources of information for the IceCats. One is called IceCats Nation, which I believe is basically just a Facebook group. And then there's the Roar Report, where they do a lot of really cool stuff covering the IceCats. They're run very, very well. And I got to be honest with you, for a brand new team to have the social media presence and the coverage that they have down there, very, very, very impressed. And I had a couple conversations, or at least one conversation this past week with Sammy, who runs the Roar Report. They do a very good job. I just wanted to throw that out there. All right, join the conversation on Facebook. Search Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey? Visit binghamtonhockey.net, your go-to source for stats, history, and all things Binghamton Hockey. And coming up on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, we have parts two of Jacob Shankar and Camron Cervone.
And a special guest that's going to be announced later in the show.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to actually let you announce that special guest later on the show. So this upcoming Thursday, traditionally, fans, we have had a former champion of some sort here on the Power Play Post Show in the middle of the finals, right? Because the finals are stretched out over 2 weekends. And we had Cody Bass on. We had Barry Brust on. So you're going to find out who that special guest is coming up a little bit later on in the show.
I kind of wish we were live for this so people could just start dropping comments to see if they were right or something. We could do like a little contest for it. That would be a lot of fun.
That's true.
Power Play Post Show fans, do us a quick favor. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode of the show. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you're following the podcast and leave us a rating. It's completely free to do. It takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube and Spotify to push the show out to more Binghamton Black Bear fans and more hockey fans just like you. Drop a comment, too. We read them, and we love hearing from you.
Okay, so Taylor, let's get right into it. Game 1 was on Friday night in Florence at the Florence Civic Center. And I think a lot of Binghamton fans were probably shocked. And I think a lot of the Pee Dee Ice fans were very much like, yep, this is the way we are playing in the playoffs. So they probably weren't surprised way too much.
IceCats take game 1 down in Florence, South Carolina by the score of 5-2, May 1st, 2026. Florence Civic Center, Commissioner Cups Finals, game 1, game 62 of the season, Binghamton Black Bears versus Pee Dee IceCats. The first period, the IceCats wasted little time making their presence felt in their first ever Commissioner Cup Finals game, striking first on the power play just 5:34 into the opening period, with Scott Romakers in the penalty box for hooking. Elijah Wilson capitalized on the main advantage, finishing off a setup from Jacob Hamilton and Nick Golo to give Pee Dee a 1-0 lead. Binghamton answered quickly and fittingly as Ramakers himself who responded. After serving the game's first penalty, the veteran forward redeemed himself by netting the first goal of the postseason at the 8:07 mark. Garrett Sargis and Zach Sirota each picked up assists on the equalizer, knotting the score at 1-1. The IceCats regained the lead late in the period thanks to a fortunate bounce near the Binghamton crease. A loose puck found its way into the slot area in front of Dominic Tomei, where Janae Zajac pounced and buried the opportunity at 15:51. Nicholas Miguel Diaz and Alexander Ledkoff assisted on the play, giving Pee Dee a 2-1 advantage heading into the first intermission.
All right, scratches for Binghamton in this game was Matt York, Sam Holy, Chicho Latham, who we'll see later on in the weekend, Mason Hohen, Tyler Schwint, Emerson Emery, CJ Hapward, and Brandon Shantz. Starters in this game was Gavin Yates, Tyson Kirkby, Nick Swain, Jesse Anderson, Scott Romakers, and Dominic Tomei. So now what's interesting here is that starting this game, he did the same thing as he did in Game 3 against Port Huron, the Gavin Yates, Tyson Kirkby, Nick Swain line. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't say that I'm surprised by that because as much as, like CJ Stubbs and Jansen have been like really helpful and, getting those goals for us when they're needed, especially those Port Huron games, everyone has been talking about the second and third lines, and whether they've been producing or not isn't even the question. It's how well they've been performing on the ice that everyone's been talking about.
Yeah. The first 3 minutes was like two teams who had never met each other, feeling each other out, and neither team had too much of an edge on each other. Passing from both teams, not as crisp as you would hope through the first period, first part of the first period. After the Black Bears had two great chances on Colgan, which he made some good saves, the Black Bears turned over the puck, and Dominik Marcinkiewicz came in and shot on 5-hole on Tomei, who made a good save. This led to the Scott Romakers penalty hooking as he tried to slow down Marcinkiewicz. The IceCats only needed 36 seconds to score the game's first goal on the man advantage. And again, it's like it's an odd man rush that created an opportunity because, Romakers had to take a penalty. We see that in Game 2 with the penalty shot, same type of thing. It was an odd man rush, comes in, DeRazio has to make a play, which we couldn't really see because of the way the camera happened. And I'm not going to let Taylor talk about the camera at all in PD because I think she would probably flip out and we'd have a 3-hour episode.
I wouldn't flip out, but man, were those some jerky movements. Okay. And I wasn't the only one saying that. That's the only thing I'm upset about is how jerky it was.
Oh, no, you're not the only person that said it. A lot of people did say it as well.
There was a couple times where I had to look away because I felt like I was going to get sick.
See, and here's the thing about Romakers, right? It's like he made a mistake. I don't know if he made a mistake. I think he made a play that he had to make, right? That caused the penalty, which eventually to slow down Marcinkiewicz. And then they turned around and scored the goal, right? But this is where I don't think people understand why this team is so good, why Binghamton recovers so well. He scores the next goal. He makes up for it. And maybe he would have scored the goal anyways, even if he didn't take the penalty, and we would have been up 1-0 instead of tying it 1-1. But it's like this is one of the things that this team does so well. They're able to recover after making a mistake so well. And sometimes the mistake is so bad that they give up a goal, but sometimes the mistake is just turning over the puck, and then the same person who turned over the puck gets the puck back. And it's just the way they play. It's the reason why they're so good sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that we have seen so many times this season of, some turnovers that have led to goals. But then, I'll use Dan Stone as an example. He had one turnover that turned into a goal, and then he turned around and got a goal. Yeah. And, so I feel like that's something that we have seen so many times throughout this season where, they might have taken a penalty that led to a goal, but then said player turns right around and gets a goal almost immediately following. And it's been kind of crazy to watch it happen.
Yeah. Brooks and Cole mentioned the ice being soft because of the humidity and the warmth. I think on Friday night it was like in the 60s, and though that's not that big of a deal, right? Especially up here in Binghamton, if we had the 60s in April, everybody would be happy. But the fact of the matter is humidity, and if you don't have an ice plant that can cool the ice down properly and keep it cool, it can create soft ice, which can create a tough time. However, the difference is if PD's had that kind of ice most of the season where they've struggled keeping it at the middle range. You don't want it too hard, you don't want it too soft, you want it right in the middle, right? And if if they play on it, they'll get used to it. Noting that the Black Bears and Tomei could nothing the Black Bears or Tomei could do on the second goal, but I would like the Black Bears to start collapsing on the net a little bit more with the way the IceCats are getting so many chances. Collapsing on the net basically means forwards and defensemen basically get right in front of Tomei. We see other teams doing it, and sometimes we do it later on in the game, but not early enough sometimes. I agreed with Cole. The IceCats want to send as many pucks down. If icing happens, that's fine. And if not, and if they can connect it, they will take that chance. This is the big difference in the two games being tried to be played by both teams. Black Bears look for zone control, and the Black Bears look to get in deep with a lot of shots, whereas the IceCats, they'll take that long pass chance if they can, and if they connect with somebody, great. If they take an icing call, no big deal to them. They don't care. To beat the Black Bears, you have to create your own chances, and the IceCats did that in that period. The Black Bears owned the zone time, but the IceCats outchanced on them on breakaways and fluky plays. Power play opportunities, Binghamton didn't have any, and PD was 1 for 1. Shots on goal, Binghamton 12, and PD 11. One of the things that annoyed me, Taylor, and I'm going to let you know because you know that I am a total geek, stat geek. I don't understand why it takes 30 minutes to count to 12. They literally throughout the whole weekend had a trouble keeping up with the shot clock or the shot totals. Brooks would say, "Oh, in the arena, they say it's 12 shots." On the web page, the Fed page where the official stats are, it was 9. And then halfway through the second period, they get it corrected to 12. It's like, I know I'm the only geek that cares about that kind of stuff, but I do. All right, let's go into the second period.
The Black Bears came out with purpose in the middle frame and quickly found the equalizer. Just 4:28 into the period, Austin DeRazio took advantage of open ice through the neutral zone, carried the puck into the offense's end, and fired home what he thought was his first goal of the postseason to tie the game at 2-2. However, Nick Swain was credited with the goal officially. DeRazio earned the assist on the play.
Yeah, I think there, Taylor, was more of they thought that Nick tipped it in. So...
I would have to go back and rewatch it, but I mean,
I don't think you can see it in this particular case. I don't think you could.
Probably not, because the camera angles sometimes weren't the greatest.
Well, it's not
to jump back on that,
but they were also so far pulled back too, right? They didn't zoom in a lot on some of that stuff, so you couldn't really see it.
Yeah, and sometimes they were just zoomed in too much, and I think that's where the jerkiness came in.
True.
It's like they forgot to just zoom out sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a tough game to watch, and it's unfortunate because it was a very exciting game.
Mm-hmm.
Pee Dee answered right back at the 7:52 mark. Dominic Marcinkiewicz restored the IceCats lead, beating Dominic Tomei high and on the short side to make it 3-2. The IceCats continued to capitalize on their opportunities later in the period when Binghamton found itself shorthanded once again. After Nick Swain was assessed a 2-minute minor for elbowing at the 10:42 mark, Pee Dee went back to work on the man advantage. This time it was the FPHL Rookie of the Year, Alexander Letkoff, who delivered scoring at the 12:29 off a setup for Marcinkiewicz and Elijah Wood. The power play tally gave the IceCats a 4-2 lead and underscored one of the biggest storylines of the night, Pee Dee's special teams execution.
Okay, Taylor, let's talk about this one. This is the goal that I think that there's some question by some people about whether or not this was goalie interference, because one of the really cool things, they have a really great photographing team down there. I think Stephen Brown or Steve somebody down there takes a lot of pictures, and he actually showed some pictures after the game. I think it was on Saturday, sometime during the game or sometime during the day on Facebook. There were pictures of this particular goal of Alexander Legoff coming in, crashing the net. And it looked like he was on top of Dominic Thomé or right in front of him, or he was like, basically Thomé was eating his pants or something. And a lot of people were questioning, well, why couldn't that have been goalie interference? It was very interesting. When I saw the pictures, I was like, oh, yeah, I can see it now. That does look like it could have been goalie interference. I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying it could look like it.
Yeah, I think like as soon as you saw that picture, it was one of those things where I feel like it's almost like a fine line. Like if Brant 100% thought, if he pulled a Matt Graham or not a Matt Graham, a Chris Paul, and he was like, oh, well, that was the easiest call ever to make. And, I'm sure if he thought anything about it, he could have challenged it if he wanted it to.
Right.
But Brant doesn't typically challenge too many things. And there's probably a reason for that because it most likely won't go his way anyways. So it's probably not worth it to challenge it.
But I thought the referees were on Binghamton's side all the time.
Yeah, see, that's
so
that's
confused.
another thing that
So confused by that.
It makes. Well, I almost made a post the other day. I don't know if it was earlier today or if it was last night. And I almost said, well, if we paid the refs, I sure hope they get their money back.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because of the amount of penalties that we had taken in the second period. The other thing that I wanted to do so badly, and I still might, it depends on how salty I feel after I get off of here. But the other thing that I wanted to do, because again, like everyone hates Tyson or hates Binghamton so much for whatever reason. And I almost made a post earlier in the Uncensored page to be like, if Binghamton is as bad as you say or as dirty as you say they are, give me one example with proof of something that they did that they did not get penalized for, that they did not get suspended for, and that they did not get fined for. And if I can go to your team and find something that a player on your team did the same exact thing you're talking about, then I need you to say sorry. I'm really thinking about doing it because it's hysterical. It truly is. And it, like the perfect example is the whole stuff with Port Huron and the whole goalie interference. They constantly keep bringing up the thing about Cooper. And then you come back with the Thomé situation and Parsons, or even, Graham with McCallum when he was in Watertown. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, I'm saying for all goalies. But that's not what you're saying. You're constantly bringing up Cooper.
One thing. You're bringing up one thing. Oh, we hurt your goaltender. Can I just say something real quick? If Garrett Sargis wanted to hurt Cooper for real, boy, it would be bad. I'm telling you right now, that guy skating by the net and not going into the crease and trying to avoid the crease. First of all, I'll flat out say it. Garrett Sargis didn't play that right. He should have gone deeper into the crease. Let me tell you why. Because we haven't scored enough goals in this year. I know we lead the league in scoring, but we could have scored a lot more. Instead, he tried to do the right thing and tried to go past the goaltender, and Reed Cooper lunged out at him. And if you guys watch it, even watch the overhead. I love it when they bring up the overhead. Well, here it is. Here's the overhead of it. Well, guess what? Cooper still lunges out. And it's such a quick play. And you keep bringing it up. That to me is a hockey play. Think about this for a second. I want people to honestly use their brain and be objective for 5 seconds here because, you brought it up and now I'm pissed off again. Taking a breath. And I don't care who you are. You could be whoever you want to be. If you look at that, that's a goalie play. That's a play. That's a play. That is a hockey play that is done even at the NHL level. Multiple times, people coming past that crease just like that, speeding in. And guess what? The goaltender has to make a decision. Do I get up against my post a little bit more, or do I lunge out and make contact? Well, guess what happened? That's what Cooper did. And here's the thing. What Matt Graham and Brian Parsons did in 2 separate incidences is not a hockey play. That is not a hockey play. Taking your stick up and double fisting it onto the goaltender is not a hockey play. So you want to talk about dirtiness? You want to talk about taking? First of all, let me tell you right now, Garrett Sargis could have destroyed Reed Cooper. He could have destroyed him, and he did not. It was a hockey play. The other two things that Port Huron has been caught doing on video, and now on the Facebook, it's on the social media now, so you can all see it. There's a difference between a hockey play and what they did. So get off of it. Stop it. Oh my God. All right.
Well, that's the whole reason that I was thinking about doing the post to begin with, is because like there's so many comments about how horrible Binghamton is and this, that, and the third. But I guarantee for everything that they could post about Binghamton being dirty for this or that wasn't a penalty, wasn't a fine, and wasn't a suspension, I guarantee that if I sat there and watched every game of your team, that I could find the same exact play.
Yeah.
It's hockey. Things happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes tensions on the ice get a little bit too much, and sometimes players make some dumb moves sometimes. It happens.
And sometimes the head coach / general manager goes up and double hand cross checks a goaltender, or gets into the business of the goaltender like that.
Or charges one completely.
Hey, listen, it's a hockey play, folks. That we'll just call it a hockey play. We'll call it even. Reed Cooper is resting at home now. Maybe he's on a golf course. I don't know. But you know what? If you're going to keep bringing it up, I'm going to keep getting pissed off about it, because I've watched hockey for a very long time, and there's a difference between a hockey play and there's a difference between being a dirty player. And that's what Matt Graham and Brian Parsons showed to us when they went after the goaltenders the way they did. If you want to collapse, if you want to crash the net, that's one thing. If you want to do what those two did in those two videos, that's completely dirty. All right, move on.
Yeah, now that we've got very off topic once again. Anyways, back to the second period of this first game here.
Why does Port Huron keep coming up? Why do these people? Because they want to trigger me. That's what it is.
No, it's because despite what everyone is trying to do, it's, Binghamton has come in and they had a slow first two seasons, and then Brant Sherwood stepped into this picture and has completely changed the game for not only Binghamton, but the league, and everybody hates him for it.
Yeah.
And I still do not understand why, because he's forcing everybody else in this league to be better.
Yep.
And if that's what you're mad about, then maybe go play in a different league.
Yeah.
Go overseas.
Go watch soccer.
Go play in Russia, or you can go back to Canada or go to Australia. I know they're playing over there right now. There's so many other opportunities for you to play elsewhere. If that's if the problem is that Brant Sherwood stepping into this league is forcing you to play better and you can't do that, then go play somewhere else. And so despite what everyone's trying to do, everyone's trying to paint Binghamton in this negative light, and that's what they've tried doing the past two seasons. And what did they do? Though they turned around and they shut everything down. They're like, okay, you guys don't want us to be a penalized team, then we won't do that extra stuff every time the whistle blows, and we won't be scrutinized for being the dirtiest team. And we still are. The second to least penalized team in the league is somehow still the dirtiest team in the league. And it makes no sense, especially, and this is why Port Huron keeps getting brought up. And again, I think there's a lot of talent on Port Huron. Yeah. I truly do believe that. I think Reed Cooper is an excellent goaltender.
Me too.
It's just unfortunate that sometimes the team in front of him is too busy trying to lay a hit on somebody instead of playing hockey and actually defending their own goaltender.
Yeah.
And they're too busy, being angry people out on the ice to try to take somebody out. And Jamie Bussell has a lot of talent. He can win probably any face-off he wanted to. Him and Newberg were probably two of my favorite people when it came to face-offs when they played here in Binghamton. I liked watching them do face-offs. It was one of my favorite things about them. And I still like Jamie Bussell when he's not playing with Port Huron, because all he does is cause drama and issues. And when he's on the ice, I just you rub your temples the entire time, because he's just out there doing silly things. And that's why Port Huron keeps getting brought up, is because Port Huron has gotten away with so much this year, and nobody has batted an eye about what Port Huron has done. The epitome of Port Huron didn't even play in the playoff run because of the things that he has done.
Yeah.
But nobody bats an eye. But somehow Binghamton is painted as this horrible, horrible team. And that's why we're in the running for a third straight championship. And I think that's why everyone's so mad. But now that we've both gone off on a tangent, we're really going to reel this back in and keep talking about this game because we haven't even made it through the first game.
Nope.
And people are probably sitting there rubbing their temples listening to us talk right now. Anywho, back to the second period. The period grew more physical as emotions began to rise, and, Bobby's and our emotions are all over the place, apparently. Matching roughing minors were handed out to Nick Swain and Dominic Marcinkiewicz at the 13:34 mark, and just 12 seconds later, Jacob Hamilton was called for holding, giving Binghamton another opportunity with the man advantage. However, the IceCats penalty kill stood tall, preserving their 2-goal advantage heading into the second intermission. Through 40 minutes, Pee Dee held a 4-2 lead despite being outshot 25-19. Surprised they could count that high, I guess. The IceCats were a perfect 2 for 2 on the power play while successfully shutting down every Black Bear opportunity with the extra skater, a rare sight against one of the FPHL's most dangerous special team unit.
Okay. Like the way the Black Bears came out in the middle frame, they were controlling the puck and they were getting the most chances. And for the first 7 minutes, got all the shots and all the chances. Binghamton looked good in the first 7 minutes of the second period. Then the IceCats let DiRazio all alone in front of Colgan, which led to his goal. Problem is, the Black Bears, a few minutes later, let Dominic Marcinkiewicz come in on Tomei and score almost untouched as well. Then Nick Swain takes a Black Bears' second penalty of the game, an elbowing call at the 10:42 mark. The IceCats are using mistakes by the Black Bears to their advantage and have a 2-goal lead. The Black Bears get their first power play chance at the 6:14 mark because, the refs are on their side. Left to go in the period as Jacob Hamilton gets tagged for the holding call. The Black Bears power play generated 2 shorthanded chances for the IceCats. Okay, because the refs are on their side, the Black Bear side. But the second half of the power play saw the Black Bears get a few decent looks, yielding nothing. Tale of two halves. The Black Bears looked good and dominated the first half of the period for 7 minutes at least. Then the IceCats started to control the pace of the game. Black Bears are controlling a lot of the play. However, the IceCats are 100% out-chancing them. The IceCats are fast and beating the Black Bears defensemen and other forwards on the ice. Power play opportunities. Binghamton was 0 for 1. Pee Dee was, again, 1 for 1. Shots on goal, Binghamton 18, and Pee Dee was 10 in that period. Let's go into the third.
The Black Bears pushed hard in the final 20 minutes, throwing everything they had at Brendan Colgan in the effort to climb back into Game 1. Binghamton controlled much of the play in the third period, heavily outshooting Pee Dee and generating several quality opportunities, but Colgan and the IceCats defense stood firm. Tempers flared early in the period following a scrum at 2:41. Zach Sirota and Dominic Marcinkiewicz were each assessed matching high-sticking minors, while Patrick Marcinkiewicz was handed a double minor for butt ending.
Which ended up being attempted headbutting.
Headbutt. Yeah. Which,
again, they put in the wrong
ending
thing.
And headbutting are very different things, so I don't know how you messed that one up. Giving Binghamton a lengthy power play opportunity despite the extended man advantage, the Black Bears were unable to solve Colgan. A key turning point as Pee Dee preserved its 2-goal cushion. Binghamton continued to press, even killing off a Tyson Kirkby tripping penalty midway through the frame. Later, a boarding minor to Dominic Marcinkiewicz at 16:45 gave the Black Bears one final late chance to cut into the deficit. I notice we say their names a lot, and usually it's on the scoring side of things.
Usually, but it was a little bit on the penalty side.
The opposite side for these two games. It's kind of interesting.
Weird.
With time winding down, Binghamton pulled Dominic Tomei for the extra attacker with 1:22 remaining. The Black Bears sustained pressure in the offensive zone, but the IceCats ultimately sealed the victory when Houston Wilson found the empty net with just 7 seconds left. Timur Razlov picked up the lone assist on the insurance marker at 19:53. The final horn sounded on a historic night in Florence as the expansion Pee Dee IceCats claimed a 5-2 victory in their first ever Commissioner Cup finals game. Backed by a crowd of 5,933 at the Florence Center, the IceCats grabbed a 1-0 lead in the best-of-5 series.
And again, Taylor and I are going to say congratulations, well fought, well played, deserved the win. Absolutely 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, like I'm not one, like I say very little about the refs. Like again, my only gripe was in game 2 and the whole helmet thing, but that to me is just a safety thing.
Yeah,
it wasn't because I was like, oh well, we needed that power. No, it's just my safety thing. You called it on Kyle Steffen, and literally the last game that he was playing in prior to that series, but you don't call it. It's just that was my whole.
You do have a weird fetish with the helmet off thing. You really do.
Listen, I'm very much a safety. It's no different than the whole high sticking thing. You're in charge of your stick. Listen, I gave Gavin Yates a lot of gripe when he did the kicking motion back in Elmira, 3 years ago now? 3 years ago.
So I want to talk about this first note that I wrote down because it's incorrect now, right? Early in the third period was a stoppage and 2 high sticking calls on Dominic Marcinkiewicz and Zach Sirota. With that scrum, Patrick's, his brother, Marcinkiewicz, was also tagged with a butt-ending 4-minute minor. That's how they entered it in on the website. However, Brooks Hill said that in the arena, they called it as an attempted headbutting, which is obviously
just weird.
2 different things, right? But what people need to understand about a butt ending is it occurs when a player uses the top end of the shaft or of their stick to jab, check, or an opponent, which is a very dangerous play. Now, again, also, that was the other thing that drove me bonkers, changing things afterwards. Some people are trying to write a game story like I was, which is this that we're reading here, and trying to put notes with it. And I can't make it accurate because people just don't give accurate information on a timely basis, which drives me bonkers. I'm going to let it go now because there's no more games in PD, except for the one we're going to talk about after the break. Black Bears never had an answer for the IceCats. I'll admit that. Simply, they were outplayed, no excuses. Now, Coach Sherwood and Coach Q need to figure out a game plan for Game 2. What can they do to slow down the IceCats? Well, we saw it. We know what they did. Pulled to May and got chances with better defense than what was up in Watertown. Colgan and the IceCats defense dug in and held the Black Bears down. They did a really good job. A picture on the ice after the game, like they won something. Yes, they won game 1, but this type of things are reserved usually for after the series, not during one. It's whatever, but it just seemed weird to me. This has no effect on the game. It just seemed weird, but I thought about it the next day. You know how sometimes I tell you, write the next day because you have a little bit better perception on it. If they win the championship, they at least have that picture on their home ice during the championship series. And so for that reason, I could understand it. Plus, it was their first inaugural, and they seem to do things to capture the moment a little bit better than maybe other inaugural teams have or expansion teams have. So I'm going to give them a total pass on taking the picture afterwards. It is weird to do, but if they're just trying to collect, the proper evidence of having a phenomenal first season, I think we have to be okay with it. We have to move on from it.
Yeah, I was kind of the opposite end of that. I'm very much I take pictures of everything. I like to capture the moment, as you were just kind of talking about. It's one of my things. Like, I'm hardly ever in pictures. I'm very much taking them, and I feel like you understand that because again, you take pictures all the time at the arena, and so it's just for me. It was just one of those things where you're capturing the moment. And it was probably an extreme high for them. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're in the finals. You won game 1. It was probably, it's something they've never done before. Whether, players on their teams have been to the finals before or not, I don't know in that aspect. But, for a lot of those guys, it's probably the first for them. It's the first for their team. The fans were definitely there for it. So, yeah, I was on the opposite end of that. I didn't think it was weird at all. I think it was kind of awesome. It was kind of like a really touching thing for them to do and to kind of probably have the fans behind them be involved in it in a sort of way. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, definitely worth it. And it's, like you said, if they end up winning, then that's awesome. They have that picture to kind of look back on.
Yeah. True. Absolutely. Now, of course, they'll take a picture in Binghamton if they also win as well, but it won't be with their fans behind it. Again, the reason why Saturday I understood it, Friday night I thought it was weird. All right. The shooters on the top line were shut down. Bondarenko, Stubbs, Jansen were not a factor in the game. And they might not have been a factor in the next game either. However, the Sirota line was the best line tonight. What will be the changes or the adjustments in Saturday's game? I feel something has to change. Not sure what, though. Power play opportunities. Binghamton was 0 for 3, and PD was 0 for 1. Shots on goal. The totals were 44-24. And what was very interesting is Binghamton outshot PD in the third period, 14-3. Taylor, let's wrap this one up with a bow. Not that anyone wants this gift, but let's wrap it up with a bow so we can get on to our interviews.
Well, and I know everybody was kind of making comments about like a scoring drought, and we haven't scored a ton of goals, but I'm okay with that for this specific reason right here. The amount of times that I've had to read so many names and points throughout the entire season, I think they're just kind of cutting me a break right now.
Fair enough.
IceCats take game 1 of finals at home with 2 power play goals, 5-2. Scott Romaker scored his first goal of the playoffs. Nick Swain scored his first goal of the playoffs. Dominic Tomei saved 18 of 21 shots in the loss, dropping his record in the playoffs to 4-2.
I love how you can make them not scoring much about you. That was great. That was great. I really do believe that encompasses your generation a little bit. And I'm just picking, so do not call me a boomer or anything like that.
Listen, I don't get offended by anything. You can throw anything at me, and I'm just gonna either laugh because I find a lot of things funny. I have a very sick, twisted, dark, humor sense of mind, but that's the whole reason I want to make the post that I want to make, just because I think it'd be hysterical.
Okay, so coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, we are going to play part 2 of our interview with Jacob Shankar. Immediately after that, you're going to hear part 2 of an interview with Cam Cervone, and then Taylor and I will be back to kind of talk about the 2-1 game between Binghamton and PD. So we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buchinski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
Let's talk a little bit about the regular season for you. How do you think it went?
It went pretty good. I think, 48 wins is a pretty good regular season.
I wasn't talking about the team. I was talking about you. How did you do this year? I want you to analyze yourself for me this first season.
I think I really found my footing at the end of the year, especially when I came back from injury and was able to, provide, energy and some timely goals. But, that's more testament to my line mates setting me up and, being in the right place, right time.
Workout regimen was good after you came back as well. I know that's something we've talked about in the past, with Q, and he's even talked about it. He's mentioned you and said that, when you came back from injury, you really delved into that. How important do you feel like that was, that maybe some of it you weren't doing before the injury? I
think it was definitely very important. Obviously coming off the couch last year, I was in game shape, but not my best shape.
Sure.
So I think, being injured actually got me into my best shape to be able to compete and, really play that, 9th, 10th forward role to a T. And obviously, talking to Q every day and him, giving me pointers and, telling me what's on the docket for the workouts, all that stuff kind of played a factor, and I was still mentally in the game even though I was out for 7 weeks, I think it was.
Talk a little bit about playing on the same line with Tyson Kirkby. Obviously, we've chronicled this a little bit, right? You grew up in the same, obviously, city up in Ontario, Canada, Prescott, and he was friends and played a little bit with your older brother, Zachary. What's it like to have now kind of found a spot on the same line with Tyson?
I mean, it's pretty cool. Being able to play pro hockey with someone from your hometown, I feel like is pretty rare, especially a town that's 5,000 people. Us just being here is kind of special, and then playing with him is great. We played a little bit together in juniors, and we had success, and I think we've done a good job. The last 3 games I think we played together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like it's fun. I like playing with him. He does kind of a similar style I have. So
Right.
it's.
Did you
it's
model
pretty easy.
your style after his? Because your brother's a defenseman. So
Yeah.
we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Your brother's a defenseman, so you can't really model your style off of your brother. So it almost has to be like, well, the older Kirkby guy that, my brother hangs around with and I played with a little bit. Did you model your style off of him a little bit?
I honestly, I don't know. When I was younger, I was always a smaller defenseman. So, I had to play physical on those big forwards.
Right.
And then once I kind of grew and got big, the physicality kind of stayed. And then I was, kind of the bigger one. So it was more just what I thought I had to do. And then Tom Wilson joined the NHL, and
Yeah.
I really liked the way he played, and I tried to model my game after him. But it's pretty close, but
He's not the most popular guy in some circles.
No.
Tom Wilson is. Yeah, but you modeled your game a little bit off of him because he plays on an edge.
Yeah.
Sometimes he goes over that edge.
Yeah.
Sometimes he doesn't. One of the things that me and Taylor kind of joked about on the show recently and actually had private conversations about was in one of the games you kind of like went, I think it might have been Sunday's game. You kind of like almost took a penalty because you were kind of going after a guy because they ran down.
Yeah.
And I was up here fist pumping. I was like, yeah, go get him, right? Because they always talk. Port Huron has talked many times. Oh, you're going to run our goalie. We're going to fight you. 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 And yet I'm like, you're going to run Dom like that, which they have done in the past, and you basically took it upon yourself to say, no, you're not going to do that.
No.
How important is that? That's important in the game, even in an important game like that.
Well, I mean, there's the line, right? So
Yeah.
there's so much you can get away with before you're going to get that penalty.
Mm-hmm.
But if you already got a penalty, then you're trying to drag someone else in with you.
Sure.
So, obviously, no one gets a free shot on your goaltender. That's probably rule number 1.
Right.
At any age. So, I mean, if you see someone touch them, you're going after them, letting them know. And if they're not going to do anything about it, like I said, if you're going to get a penalty, you're trying to drag him in with the box with you.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw Taylor under the bus. She got all antsy when you went after him because she didn't want you to take a penalty. And I said, nope, that's the penalty I want him to take.
Yeah.
But two different mindsets, right? One person's saying, don't do that. No, that's not the right time. And I'm like going, no, go for it. Clock him one if you have to. I'm okay with it. But that's a hard thing because on the ice, you have to make that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like the hardest decision to make.
That's good. I like to hear that.
It's more of like, how far do I want to take it?
Right.
And how far is this guy willing to go? Because if he's running away so much, then I know I can just grab him.
Yeah.
And, kind of smack talk him a little bit and see if I can draw one by him punching me, like egg him on a little bit, and then I can just laugh it off and go to the bench, and it's whatever. We're on the power play. Good job.
Do you have a memorable fight from this year?
The first one probably.
Yeah? Why is that?
Well, it was my first ever hockey fight. So, and then, Sirota got hurt, and the crowd was just pretty fun to fight in front of. They were all cheering, and it was pretty cool.
How awesome has the fans here in Binghamton been for you guys, and for you in particular, because you have some really hardcore dedicated fans?
Yeah, I mean, some of the fans now, it feels like they're almost like a second family. Like, there's obviously a few. I'm not going to give any shout outs, but they know who they are.
Because you don't want to upset the other ones you don't give the shout outs to?
Yeah.
That's fair. But
that's
fair.
It's pretty cool to be, that liked by, so many of our fans. But they come out and they show up for every game.
Did you
amazing.
expect this coming into this? That, I mean, you'd heard from the Kirkbys, this is a great place to play. Fans are great. Arena's good. Coach is obviously doing well, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff. You heard that. But could you even expect the reaction to you or to this team from the outside until you came inside?
Honestly, when Tyson's been talking about it for quite some time. I thought he was kind of just,
overselling
it to say the least. And then, I got here, and the first game we had at home, I was in the press box, and I was watching, and I was like, holy moly, this is not what I expected. This is unbelievable. And they, they go above and beyond for everything, like snacks on the bus, our booster club getting us anything, we need just to be comfortable, just so we can focus on hockey. It's just like, I can't really picture a better spot to play in SB, East Coast, or even, that Fed. There's nowhere that's better than here with our fans, and
because it's a community. It's a community. It's a very strong community. You can go back 54 years. When this arena was built in 1972, I was born in 1972. This arena was built. They started playing hockey a year later. And, the slap shot era, the Dusters, they were part of that slap shot era of hockey that kind of created that movie. And ever since then, there's a legacy. We finally win 38 years. It took 38 years to win a championship, and that was in 2011. And now you guys are on the verge of a third championship in a row for this team. You weren't a part of those first two. You kind of know about them a little bit. How important, how much do you guys maybe not think about it, but feel it, that it's the right time to hang another banner in this arena?
I mean, the whole message when I first got here from Jersey was, win or move up. That is your goal as a player on this team. It's we're either going to win or you're going to move up to a higher league. And, obviously that's our goal. Our goal is to put up a third one. And right now it's seeming like it's moving in that direction.
Right.
But, it's, like I said at the start of the show, it's not over. We still have a job to do and cement, Binghamton's legacy. Basically, is the only
team in the Fed.
single A team to ever three-peat. So
yes, the SP has never had it. Yes, knock on wood. That's more wood there than I don't know what that is. Synthetic something. It's only happened in minor league hockey a couple times where a team has three-peated, which is insane. Back-to-backs happened a little bit more often than that. In the American Hockey League, which is just below the NHL, it's only happened once in the 50s. It wasn't even the Hershey Bears. Everyone always says, it's got to be the Hershey Bears. Wasn't even the Hershey Bears. So it's a rarity to see it. Now, you weren't here in 24 and 25. Why do you think, from playing this year with the Black Bears, why do you think those two teams won? What can you take from what you know about this year's team and go, that's the reason why those two teams won as well?
I mean, you just look at the core guys who've stayed for all those two championships. I mean, it's, Tyson, Ando, Yates. Was Stubbs there for both, or was he just there for one?
Just for the 25.
Just for one. So then there's.
But you have Dan Weber, Dan Stone, C-Mac.
So what's that? 6 guys of 18 players on the roster. So a third of our roster has been here for 2 of the championships so far.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive on, a single A team to have a third of your team come back every year and install that winning mindset in each team moving forward. That's something special. That's something you can't really replace.
No, very much so. I pick on you about this. I pick on your family about this. I want to see your brother come here and play here next year. I want to get this on the record. Would you enjoy playing with your brother on the same team in pro hockey?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's actually something we talked about when I was a senior. My last year in college, we talked about trying to, go play somewhere together, and I ended up, choosing a different path, and I had a good offer, a job offer that I couldn't really refuse.
Right.
But now, I'm playing, and I'm loving it here. And
he's been here a couple times.
He's been here quite a bit, and he likes the environment here. But we'll see what he decides to do. He's over in Australia now playing, so That's only for the summer, though, so we'll see what the winter brings.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. I might put the bug in coach's ear. Hey, did you talk to that Zach kid? Yeah, can we get him on the team? Because that would be pretty cool. And then your parents would have no reason to not just buy a condo down here along with the Kirkbys, and they could all just come hang out during the hockey season down here. Your dad is super awesome. He's super nice. He's easy to talk to. Great guy. The Kirkbys are awesome. Talk a little bit about how important your mom and your dad have been towards both of your hockey careers. And I know you got a sister too, right?
Yeah.
That family element is so important for any of you three to be successful in anything you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that they've ever installed in us was, to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
If you work hard, good things will come to you no matter what happens. I remember even as a kid, there was a game where I think I scored 2 goals, and after the game we were driving home, my dad was like, how do you think you played? And I was like, but I thought I played pretty good. I scored 2 goals, and he's like, yeah, but it wasn't your best game. You weren't moving your feet, whatever. And I was like, yeah, you're actually right. And then there'd be other games where I didn't really do much on the score sheet. He's like, I think you played a hell of a game. You're working really hard.
Because there's more to the game than just scoring goals.
Well, he was more, installing the work ethic. That's something that's not going to leave you. But, that's just, and they provided all of us everything we needed to be successful in anything we do. My sister's over in England right now studying to be a chiropractor and take over my dad's business, or hopefully take over. I don't know what she's going to do yet. And then, my brother...
Did she ever play? Was she ever a skater? Did she get on the ice and skate a little bit?
She played. She was more a figure skater. She played for 2 years, and she's more into soccer. She plays soccer. She played for... The first time she went overseas, she played over there, and now...
Which is wicked competitive, right?
Yeah,
going over there and playing soccer or football, so to speak, over there it's very competitive, very hard to do.
Yeah, and she was a good soccer player. She's a good little player.
Now, you said your dad's a chiropractor, but he's also the mayor up in Prescott, right?
Yeah, he is.
You guys kind of giggle about that when you say that, because I call him the mayor all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, Mr. Mayor, how you doing? What's that like? He's his 2 sons are pro hockey players, and he's the mayor of Prescott. Is that how he won? On the ticket of, well, my boys play hockey and they're pro.
No. He's been at the same spot in Prescott for, I think it's 25 years,
wow.
Maybe longer now, maybe 30.
Wow.
So his business has been open, and he's talked to me a lot, obviously, about his business and, how he grew it. And I think he knows probably every single person in the town. Yeah,
because he's probably cracked their back at one point.
He's done some sort of treatment.
Just come on over. I can take care of that for you.
And it's funny because, there'd be Saturdays or Sundays where we'd have to go to the grocery store and, get groceries, and my dad would be with me, and next thing you know, I see him just with a group of people talking to every single person, and I'm just picking out all the groceries, and then I come get him, and we're like, okay, it's time to go. I have everything, and he's like, okay, one more second. And just still shaking hands, talking to everyone. But
nice.
That's just always how he's been. Just a chatty Cathy, and remembers everyone's name and talks to everyone. I don't know how many times before he actually became mayor, when he was thinking about running for council.
Mm-hmm.
He had so many people come in his office and be like, you should run for mayor. You should run for mayor. And he was like, yeah, I don't know. And then, he finally did it. And I think this is his 3rd term now. And he's probably going to try to do it again next year.
Nice. Awesome. Good for him. Lastly, before I let you go here, did you have fun this year?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Even through the bumps and the bruises and anything that kind of went down, you had fun.
Yeah. This is, this is the most fun I've ever had playing hockey, and it's kind of crazy to say that, being 27 years old, playing hockey for 22, 23 years, to say at, nearing the end of my career that I'm having the most fun is is awesome.
Oh, no, you're going to play another 10 years. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I don't know if I got 10 years left in me.
All right, well, he is Jacob Shankar. This was not Tub Time with Jacob Shankar. We'll try to figure out a time to be able to get to do that. Jacob, congratulations on everything this season, and thank you very much for being so awesome to Taylor and I with the Power Play Post Show. We absolutely have enjoyed getting to know you. One of the benefits of being able to do this show is get to know you guys on a human level, and share that with sometimes the fans. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Awesome, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
You're listening to the Power Play Post Show. Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
Let's get serious for a moment, okay? You good?
Is this going to be serious?
Yeah, this is going to. This question is going to be kind of serious.
Okay.
Dominic Tomei came to this team and started displaying his faith on the ice. Prayer circles, going to the center of the ice afterwards, and you're one of the guys that have joined him. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about how Dom has helped maybe you and other players be able to showcase your faith without any judgment, without, like, oh, what are these guys doing or whatever. Instead, it's more like there was more fans in this arena that went like, wow, look what they're doing. That's awesome. And, they really, I think there's a lot of people who have a lot of faith who don't get to express it sometimes because they're fear of who might say something or whatever, or you're pushing this down my throat or whatever. I absolutely love this. And what has also transpired into is that faith that you guys can then also share with your opponents. Because at the end of the game, like you said before, like we've talked about, is, friends off the ice, family off the ice, hockey community off the ice. How does it make you feel that Dom was able to come in and he was the guy that really started to help kind of cultivate that with this team?
For sure. And, Dom is an amazing human being. And, it's something that, my faith personally is I've grew up with, being Catholic and, going to church. And I went to Catholic school growing up, to a Catholic elementary, middle school growing up. And just always something that's been a part of my life, and, my family and my life, and something I've believe in. And and it's especially at the end of the game, at home we do it at center ice, me, Dom, and Austin Durazio.
Yeah.
And then some guys will come in here, and then there's, like you said, there's no, everyone is always welcome to join. And at the end of the day, God is always on our side, and pray to God that we're safe, for a great game and no injuries. And at the end of the day, it brings people together, and it's definitely something, special in my life. And, I've had conversation with Dom, believe in the same things. And, it is something that, it does tell people, hey, like, you're always welcome to come in, say a little mini prayer. Doesn't it,
You guys did it with Port Huron at the end of the series.
Yep.
I took a ton of pictures of that, and I always feel weird taking pictures of you guys praying. But I also want to chronicle and be able to show people in some cases that that's hockey. Right there, that community right there where you guys can do that. Jamie Bissell probably beat the crap out of like 5 or 6 of you guys throughout the season because he's like a big tough guy on the ice, but off the ice, not that kind of person. He's it's different. Yeah, as I've said many times, there are certain guys I meet on the squad and they turn into animals. Jesse Anderson turns into an animal when you piss him off on the ice. Outside the ice, he's one of the nicest guys you will ever meet.
For sure.
Right.
Yes.
And 100%. But that prayer circle at the end of the series probably meant a lot to you guys in your own ways because you were able to come together like that.
100%. And like I said earlier, it's, it's a hard fought war, intense battle, on the ice with each other. There's things said there and that, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings living, the same life. And, just to come, say a quick prayer that we're all safe and for a great, everyone, safe travels back, coming back here to Binghamton. They go back to Michigan, and just, in mutual respect at the end of the day too. And, it's something that we all have the same, similar faith, and we all come together. And it's that's what sports are all about at the same time too. So
have you been having fun this year?
I have been. This has been a very fun season. I mean, this is why you come back and play in Binghamton. It's plain and simple. And, not only just on the ice in front of, the amazing fan base we have, that bring it every night. To get this place rocking, it's special. But, off the ice with our group and our culture, we've had some great memories in our locker room and in road trips this year. It's stuff that you'll, definitely remember forever, when you look back at it.
And you also, come back to Brant and now Coach Q, who's kind of worked with you guys on the defensive side. How great is that bond that a lot of the guys have with Brant Sherwood, because he is that prototypical coach nowadays where it's a little bit different than the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s when it came to coaching, and you could just bark out orders all the time and Brant understands, like, a couple players today didn't practice because they're taking care of their body. He understands that better. There are some coaches in single A hockey that would be like, nope, you still got to be on skates and practicing with us, and not understand that sometimes taking care of the body also means taking care of the mind, and being able to have that ability to step aside, watch the game. Like, I saw one guy just walking steps today, right? He was still doing something. He was still out here with his brothers, even though you guys were on the ice. And you know what I mean? And I'm not naming names on purpose, right? Because I don't want people to know who was sitting out and not practicing or whatever. But it's an important part of it. And that's something that Brant has figured out with the new school player, so to speak, of how to take care of them physically and mentally at the same time.
For sure. I mean, first of all, Shearsy's running joke every day. I say, "What's up, beauty?" every single day, because he really is an awesome human being. But no, he's been through it. Shearsy's been through it, and he's played in the FPHL. He's played in the SP. He's played in the East Coast. He's been in our shoes before, so he gets what we go through on a daily basis. The travel, in games and everything. So he's definitely used that and brought it over to coaching, and it's and to have a coach that can relate to your players, it really does make a difference. And he gets what we go through, and same with Q. He just finished playing, and he was a player at the highest level. He played at the highest level in the NHL, and he's been through it, and he's brought those little details from the higher levels and to us, and instills us in on the ice, off the ice, with habits. And it's definitely
workout regimens.
Yep, workout
that's such
regimen.
A big thing with him.
100%. And that's just kind of picking up on those little things really does help, not only as a hockey player, but just as a person in general. Mm-hmm. And that's that's what Shearsy and Q bring to us. And it's not just us as a hockey player, it's us as human beings as well, and people. And it's definitely something that has helped us as a group, for sure. Looking back at the long run, because it's the season's a journey, right? You got to take it one day at a time, and you're not going to win a championship in 2 weeks, right? It's a process, and it's they do such a great job preparing us each and every game, for
and that's
the
really
we're
their
playing.
Jobs, right?
Yeah.
Is to prepare you guys. They can't play for you. Mm-hmm. They can't execute on the ice. They can just prepare you guys to be successful. And that's probably one of the hardest things on a hockey team, is to prepare other people to try to execute what you hope is going to happen so you can win. 100%.
And they do a tremendous job getting us ready for no matter what opponent we face, and it's not only preparing, like you said, it's next, they could do all they could do to prepare us to play, but at the end of the day, it comes out to us executing, right? And mm-hmm. every single one of us in that room will go to war for those guys at the end of the day.
Before I let you go, last thing I want to talk about is your D partner, Dan Weaver. I love his dad. His dad is like 2 years older than me. We're the same people, grew up the same way. And Weebs is a combination of like new school, young adult, and like his father. What has it been like to kind of get to know and kind of team up this year with Weebs?
I mean, I can't say enough great things about Weebs.
Are you just saying that because he's bigger than you and you want to make sure that you don't get him mad at you?
Oh my gosh. No.
You couldn't take Weber in a fight, could you?
I guess there's only one way to find out. Maybe at the end of the year we'll have a little tussle at the end. No,
I like it.
On a serious note, Weebs is just an all-around great human being. Great player. Yeah. Great human being. We've had numerous great conversations together, and I think on the ice we really complement our games really well, and we've done tremendous job together as a D pairing, and reading off each other. Talk. Lots of talk between each other, and
puck transporting. Protecting the net when need be. We were talking about it off air a little bit, about how it's almost like we talk about two-way forwards all the time. Two-way forwards are basically forwards that play very good defensively, but then still have enough skill to puck in, to get a few pucks in the net. Yep. We don't talk about that enough about defensemen. We always talk about, the offensive defenseman, like a D-Raz, who's like got the skating ability of like somebody that really is really good skater, right? But then also has a great shot, that type of thing. And that's what he relies a lot of his game on. And then Dan Stone protects his ass, right? Let's be honest, right? The two of you, it's like you're two very good stay-at-home defensemen, but then also can move that puck. We see Weebs and you go down in and behind the goaltender in the offensive zone, and I'm like going, and then boom, within a few seconds, you're right back where you're supposed to be. It's amazing how you guys have a similar style in that sense, where you guys can both transport the puck, but also get back where you're supposed to be very quickly. For sure. I mean, and it's one of those things where I think it just comes naturally where we read off each other. I mean, it starts in the D zone, one's in front, other corner, then we support each other, quick exits. And then usually, we try to, it's one of those little details, we always want to have a D try to jump up in the rush to be that extra, quote unquote, extra forward. It could be either one of us, but, we do a good job kind of reading off each other, depending on situations. And, it's one of those things where, it's just just comes naturally. Right. And, we have a good sense of just reading off each other, and, we're, we even, the offensive zone, but it's just funny because, sometimes, might not show up on the score sheet, but, right. That's also, trying to, as it is, defense first is in the defenseman terms, but you also want to contribute offensively, maybe not be on the score sheet, but you want to create that rhythm, keeping pucks hemmed in the offensive zone, and being part of that, making smart decisions, move it up or get a shot on net, or try to make plays. And it's been definitely a fun ride with Weebs. Like I said, he's a great human being, and we've had great conversations on and off the ice. It's just one of those things where it just, it comes natural between us. That's awesome. CC, thank you very much. Congratulations on a great season, number one. And I can't wait until we raise another banner and go from there.
Let's get 3.
Awesome. He is Cam Cervone from the Binghamton Black Bears, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Now, if we could have like a Patreon service, or if we had a members only on YouTube, trust me, the breaks, the in-between stuff that you guys don't get to hear, that's where it would go. And it would be only for adults. Let me tell you that right now. And that just means that there's a little bit of swearing that happens and whatnot. But welcome back.
You get your money's worth is what we're saying.
You would get your money's worth, but we have to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube before you guys get to hear that. So if you know anybody that isn't subscribed to the Power Play Post Show, that's the kind of stuff you might get. And it would be some pretty juicy stuff. That is for sure.
If you thought we were unhinged in that second period, you should have heard us in that little break we had. Because let me tell you,
things kind of escalated, and I was a little scared for myself because Taylor was definitely a little bit more unhinged than I usually get. But that's okay. That's okay. Welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Speaking of YouTube, support the Power Play Post Show by subscribing on YouTube. When you subscribe and like episodes, it signals to YouTube that hockey fans are engaging, which helps recommend the show to more viewers. As our community grows, we're able to deliver more interviews, insights, and hockey discussions. And maybe someday we'll give you a members only type of thing. Subscribing and liking is the most effective and completely free way at the moment to support the show. Join fellow hockey fans and subscribe on YouTube today.
And now we get to talk about game number 2.
All right.
And as we kind of briefly mentioned off air, that we hope it doesn't take us as long and we don't, go off the crazy train over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Black Bears take game 2, 2-1, come home with the series tied at 1. May 2nd, 2026, Florence Civic Center, Commissioner Cup Finals, Game 2, Game 63 of the season, Binghamton Black Bears versus the Pee Dee IceCats. The Binghamton Black Bears came out with the urgency expected from a defending champion facing an early series deficit, and their strong opening 20 minutes was rewarded with a 2-goal lead. After Pee Dee successfully killed off an early penalty, the IceCats found themselves in an even deeper trouble midway through the period. Consecutive penalties, Rizaloff and Charlie Bedard gave Binghamton an extended 2-man advantage, and the Black Bears wasted little time capitalizing. At 11:52, Austin DeRazio blasted home a power play goal from the point, finishing off a setup from CJ Stubbs and Ivan Bondarenko to give Binghamton a 1-0 lead. The Black Bears continued to control the pace of the remainder of the period, hemming Pee Dee in its own zone and limiting any offensive opportunities. Their dominance was reflected on the shot clock as the IceCats failed to record a single shot on goal over the final 10 minutes of the frame.
Crazy.
Binghamton doubled its lead in the period at the 18:05 mark following a clean offensive zone faceoff win. Dan Stone fired a shot from the point that found its way through traffic and past Brendan Colgan. Tyson Kirkby earned the lone assist on Stone's first goal of the postseason, giving the Black Bears a 2-0 advantage heading into the intermission. By the end of the period, Binghamton had thoroughly dictated play, outshooting Pee Dee 20-3, which is what we expect of Binghamton, while establishing the type of puck possession and territorial control that has defined their championship pedigree.
So to me, when I watched this period and after watching the period of game 1, I saw a complete different Binghamton Black Bears team than what we saw in game 1. Yes, they controlled the puck well in game 1 and had their moments where they controlled the puck, but they were shooting a lot of perimeter shots, a lot of shots from the point that weren't getting through. And the shots that were getting through, obviously Colgan was seeing very well. In this first period, it felt different. Yes, they controlled the puck. Yes, they got a lot of shots on goal. Yes, they scored 2 goals. But Taylor, I don't know about you, and maybe it was the lineup changes, the way they toyed with the lines a little bit. Brought in Chichu Lathlen, took out Cam Cervone. I don't know exactly everything that it was. Maybe it was a good ass reaming from Brant Sherwood. Not sure. I don't think so because it's not how he usually plays the game as a coach. But I got to be honest with you, it just felt and looked different. Maybe it was because they had the lead. I don't know. But it felt like they were in more control of the game in that first period than the other 3 periods of game 1.
Yeah, and it kind of gave me the same type of feeling from the Port Huron series. And, Brant talked about it pretty well when, you did the interview with him about let the guys feel the emotion of that night, take in the loss, feel how you want to feel, be upset about it, do what you need to do that night.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next day you have to come back and, completely forget about what happened and kind of take it as a new day and a new opportunity to go out there and get a win.
Right.
And I feel kind of, again, it felt very similar to the Port Huron series where, the first game at home with Port Huron was nothing was connecting for us. We couldn't get a pass. He couldn't get the puck. Every puck bounced over poor Ramaker's stick. And that, I think that continued on even into the Sunday game. But, there were just things that just weren't working for them. And that's kind of how it felt for, this Friday game for them is they had some opportunities and they did have some of that possession that they normally would have in a game, but things just weren't working to their favor. They still weren't getting that puck luck and, those favorable bounces that Pee Dee was able to kind of capitalize on a little bit in that first game.
Right.
So again, I think it's just the way that Brant runs things. And I know I talk about this a lot and I'm probably beating a dead horse at this point. The way that he's able to execute things and the way that this team truly does take things one game at a time and, one stepping stone here, the changes that they make, it kind of seemed big, the forwards were kind of all jumbled around, but at the same time, they weren't really big changes. Like these aren't guys that like, if you put them on completely different lines, you're like, oh my God, what is he doing? You're just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, cause these guys seriously all play so well together that it doesn't really matter how much you jumble the forwards. And the only other difference outside of the forwards being kind of jumbled around was putting Laughlin in. So who knows what the real difference maker was, but they came out with the same fire energy that we needed with the Port Huron series. And that's exactly what they did.
I think it was weird because when I did see the lines, I was like, okay, Gavin Yates is with Tyson Kirkby and CJ Stubbs, right? And he started those guys. But then you had Zach Sirota in between Ivan Bondarenko and Mac Jansen. Now, to be fair, I don't think any of the lines and the changes really made a big difference because look who scored the goals, right? It was Dan Stone and Austin D'Orazio that scored the goals. So two defensemen actually scored the goals. Now, did the line changes help them become better defensively, right? Did they match up better against Pee Dee because they changed the lines the way they did? Maybe, right? Because you took basically Tyson, who was on a checking line at one point, and puts him now with CJ Stubbs and Gavin Yates. Neither one of those guys are checking forwards. Both of them, Gavin's a great skater, and CJ Stubbs is a good setup guy and a good goal scorer himself. And you put Tyson on there, which is probably your best guy to take faceoffs. And basically, you just changed Tyson from a checking forward into, hey, we need big moments from you forwards. And they didn't even get it from those guys. And I'm not saying that those guys didn't have good games. That's not what I'm saying here at all. It's just that the goal scoring came from the defensemen. And it's just very, very interesting how the lines were changed. Yeah, I don't think they yielded the greatest results statistically, but maybe they did on the ice in other ways, which made this team better than the night before.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that, honestly. Just, again, speaking of, where the scoring did come from.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of came down to special teams really did play a big part. And I know that's kind of a sore subject because it's the special teams and the whole we paid off the refs situation. But again, we didn't see the number one power play, number one penalty kill team that we've seen all season in that first game. And I think that was kind of maybe that was kind of the talking point was they needed to step that up and kind of really secure that back in and to bring that into Saturday's game. And maybe that was the difference maker. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever know what the true difference maker was, but definitely was a difference. And that whatever they did, I hope they can, continue that momentum and carry it forward into this upcoming weekend.
Now, after the first TV timeout and after the first 5 minutes, I think it was like 5:26, they went to the first TV timeout. The Black Bears had a 9-1 lead in shots. The Black Bears were attacking the crease hard. The Black Bears took their first penalty of the game, a slashing Austin D'Orazio at the 8:47 mark. And then, of course, there was the play that has had everyone talking on the internet forever, which was with Razaloff in the box for interference. And, of course, Charlie Bedard in the box for high sticking, which was a double minor. The Black Bears were on a very long 5-on-3 power play, which then eventually turned into an extended 5-on-4 because of the double minor. D'Orazio scored on that goal, obviously, which was good for the Black Bears. This was a much better period for the Black Bears than all three periods of the game before. I already made that comment. D'Orazio and Stone scoring is great. You need your blue liners to cash in whenever you can, but you need your top two lines starting to contribute to the scoring. Now, again, I'm not saying that they didn't play good. What I'm saying is we need Stubbs to score. We need Mac Jansen to score, because these are the guys that got us there. I do believe that at some point in this series, those three guys, Mac Jansen, Ivan Bondarenko, and CJ Stubbs, will play a part or need to play a part in the Black Bears scoring if they're going to win a championship. I truly believe that. And I don't think I'm being harsh or critiquing too much by saying that, Taylor.
No, I definitely don't think so. And I'm sure they're probably feeling it the same way. I'm sure they're probably frustrated that they haven't been able to, contribute or get a puck into the back of the net. And I do agree. I think that it would be great to see them kind of start scoring some goals. We've seen it all season long. They came out absolutely firing on all cylinders in the beginning of the season. And maybe that was our problem, is that they came out really strong. And last season it started slow and then gradually worked its way up. And this season they started really strong. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they used it all up. Like maybe they're out of gas for their, out of ammunition for their pucks. But truthfully, I do hope that the drought kind of gets taken care of and they start, getting some goals. But at the same time, like these series have been very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The scoring has been, it's been so much different than the regular season. And these series have been just so interesting to watch. And it's nice because, again, we've talked about the depth on this team. And, I feel like without that going into these playoff series, it could have been a very different outcome if we didn't have the depth that we do.
I agree. All right, no shots on goal for the IceCats in the last 10 minutes of the first period. You're not going to beat the Black Bears if you can't shoot. Power play opportunities, Binghamton was 1 for 5. PD was 0 for 1. Shots on goal, 22-3, as Taylor already said. Let's go into the second period.
The Pee Dee IceCats responded with a much stronger second period, cutting into Binghamton's lead and generating significantly more offensive pressure. Just 3:25 into the middle frame, the IceCats capitalized on an odd man rush. Alexander Ledkoff carried the puck into the offensive zone and slid a perfect pass across Zajac, who finished the play to bring Pee Dee within one at 2-1. The goal was Zajac's second of the finals and once again highlighted the IceCats' speed in transition.
Without a doubt.
Pee Dee continued to push the pace throughout the period, forcing the Black Bears into a series of penalties. Binghamton successfully weathered the storm, killing off 4 separate minors in the frame and preserving its lead thanks in large part to the steady play of Dominic Tomei. One of the biggest moments of the night came late into the period with 3:24 remaining. Drew Welch broke in alone after Austin D'Orazio made a desperate diving effort to disrupt the rush. A penalty shot was awarded on the play, giving the IceCats a golden opportunity to tie the game. But Tomei came up with one of the biggest saves of the postseason, denying Welch and keeping Binghamton in front. That stop loomed large as the Black Bears carried their 2-1 lead into the second intermission, despite being outshot 12-6 in the period.
Okay, so there's a couple things that we need to talk about here. First of all, by the time the end of the second period happened, that was 5 periods of play between Binghamton and PD. And I got to be honest, there was at least 5 times in the first 5 periods where Binghamton had to take a penalty to stop a Pee Dee IceCats player coming in on the rush. And of course, the big one was, of course, Drew Welch, where D'Orazio, we didn't see it completely because unfortunately on the screen, they were looking more towards the neutral zone. And then they came over and all of a sudden, boom, D'Orazio's on his belly, doing snow angels or something. And Drew Welch is also, been wiped out. And so, which was kind of funny in itself. But I think I noticed that's the speed of the Pee Dee IceCats that I think the Black Bears had to really think about and concentrate on, because in the first 5 periods, or at least the first 2 games, there was at least 4 or 5 penalties caused because of the speed of the IceCats coming in on an odd man rush on Tomei.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I was picking up on in the second game was a lot of the fans were making comments about hoping that Binghamton lost their speed. And because, again, PD is very fast. And I think that's kind of where they were able to capitalize against Columbus in those couple games where they were able to take it into overtime, is because maybe Columbus couldn't keep up the pace for the entire third period.
Right.
So maybe they started to slow down, or maybe they got gassed and they just couldn't do it the entire, 60 minutes of the game, where Binghamton has the ability to do that. Because I know I saw it so many times where, like, we really thought, Binghamton was going to get gassed, or they were going to really, start to slow down, and they never did. And I think maybe that's kind of where some of the frustration on PD's end started to come out, is because they were able to do that with Columbus, and, they were able to tie the game up and go into overtime and still come out with the win at the end of the game. But Binghamton just didn't allow them to do that. And It is unfortunate that they were able to get the chances that they did in those odd man rushes that did lead to some of the penalties that they did. But that's one of those situations where I would rather take the penalty and sit in the box for 2 minutes and really rely on our penalty kill than have them go in and have a chance on, shooting at Tomei.
How huge was the penalty shot save for Tomei?
I'm pretty sure everyone is probably having a heart attack. I can only, we talk about it all the time. I can only imagine what it was like for if Tomei's parents were watching, or anybody in his family was paying attention to what was going on right there.
Yeah.
Because, I felt it. I'm sure everybody's blood pressure was up and skyrocketed. And it's not that we didn't have faith in Tomei. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But that right there was probably one of the most important things that's happened to the Black Bears the entire season.
Yeah.
And, Tomei was able to make that save. And that, I think, really set the tone for the rest of the game. Because if Welch was able to score on that, then that gave the momentum to PD. But Tomei was able to stop that, and it kind of limited what PD was going to be able to do, in my opinion.
So to sum up, a lot of my notes was about the penalties. And it wasn't me complaining about the penalties. It was basically saying that in the first 10 minutes of the first 10 minutes of the second period, the Black Bears were on the penalty kill for almost a full 6 minutes, right? I think it was 5 minutes and 47 seconds that they were on the penalty kill. Okay. It didn't get any better in the second half of the period, where they took another 2 minors after 2 matching roughing calls happened. There was 2 more minors later on in the period. So they spent almost a full 10 minutes on the penalty kill in the second period. And the IceCats obviously only got one goal in the period. And it wasn't even on the power play, which means the power play and the special teams really kicked it up another gear in this game versus the night before. And I really do think that the Binghamton's best power play all season long really, I don't want to say saved them. It's not the right term, but it came through in the second period of this game.
It definitely did. And I think that's probably why I think one of the topics of conversation, if they did have one, if Brant went into that locker room after the first game, probably one of the things talked about was really needing the special teams to kind of hone down and really focus on, especially if you're taking penalties. If you can't outskate PD and you're taking those penalties to prevent them from getting to May, then you have to be able to rely on your penalty kill. And that was probably a really strong point that they talked about, and a lot of things they probably emphasized on.
Now here's the thing, Taylor. In the second period, they had to kill off basically 5 penalty kills, right? And a penalty shot, right? So you have 6 big moments that you have to take care of in that second period. How many penalties do you think Binghamton took in the third period?
Wasn't it 1?
No, it was 0. Because this is what makes Brant Sherwood and Coach Q better than all the other coaches out there. They said, guys, we can't do that for another 20 minutes. They go in there and they say, guys, we can't do that for another 20 minutes. You have to play solid defense. You have to be in the best positions you can be on the ice to make sure that you combat their speed. Because how you defeat a speedy team is one of two ways. You physically attack them. And I don't mean that in a very dirty way. But you
very touchy subject.
Yeah, I know it is. You physically get in their way. You pin them up against the boards. You do physical things like that, right? You get in their way. You attack them. You have a strong forecheck. You back check as best as you can. Then you turn around and you play good positional defense. That's how you stop speedy teams. That's what they did in the third period, which was pretty impressive. Okay. Everything I liked about the first period did not appear in the second period, and the penalty kill was needed way too much in the middle frame. We can both agree on that, but we had it, and that's the important thing. Power play opportunities, Binghamton had none in the middle period. PD was 0 for 5, okay, in there. And we also saved a penalty shot. Shots on goal, Binghamton 9, PD was 16, so Binghamton was 31, and PD was 19 at this point. Let's go into the third period.
With a 1-goal lead entering the final 20 minutes, the Binghamton Black Bears delivered the kind of disciplined, championship caliber defensive effort that has defined their postseason success.
It really has.
Neither team found the back of the net in the third period, but the Black Bears effectively controlled the pace and limited PD's quality scoring opportunities. After IceCats generated momentum in the second period, Binghamton tightened up defensively, closing passing lanes, winning battles along the boards, and preventing PD from establishing sustained offensive zone pressure. An early bench minor for too many men gave the Black Bears a power play opportunity just 52 seconds into the period, and another IceCats penalty midway through the frame provided Binghamton with additional time on the main advantage. While the Black Bears were unable to add an insurance goal, they successfully managed the game and kept PD from mounting a serious late push. The IceCats did not pull Brendan Colgan for the extra attacker until just 15 seconds remained, which I think is a really good point.
It is.
A testament to Binghamton's ability to keep the play away from the dangerous areas in the closing minutes. When the final horn sounded, the Black Bears had secured a hard-fought 2-1 victory, evening the Commissioner Cup finals at 1 game apiece as the series now shifts north to Binghamton. And because I remember I had made a comment in our group chat about when do they pull Colgan.
Yeah.
And one of the comments was, I think it was like one with either 240 or 140 left to go if they had control. And that was a good point to make, because Binghamton very much was like, we're not letting you guys get far enough away from Colgan to be able to pull him.
It was amazing.
It took until 15 seconds left. And I would have probably had a heart attack on the spot if they were able to do it in 15 seconds. It definitely would have been impressive.
Yeah.
But that to
and they
me
had a couple.
was,
and they had a couple opportunities in the last 6 or 7 seconds where they were trying.
I know there was one save where everyone was probably just nobody's got no nail buds left because they probably chewed them all off. But yeah, for them to be able to put that amount of pressure on them and not let them pull Colgan was definitely a testament. And again, it was very awesome to watch.
I know a lot of people are going to say, where is the offense? And yes, it's lacking right now. But in the third period, the Black Bears controlled all the big moments and won all of the battles. They played a tight defense to keep the IceCats at bay. A win is a win. Got to take it and move to game 3. The referee argument that both fan bases are already going to talk about is horrible argument. Whether you won or lost, let it go. It's about scoring and stopping goals, not the referees. The Black Bears are now back on an even playing field, and they will have home ice. It's a best of 3 now. Series moves to Binghamton, where the Black Bears on their ice surface should be comfortable and produce more grade A chances and cash in on them. Power play opportunities, Binghamton is 0 for 2, and PD is 0 for 0. Shots on goal, Binghamton 9 in that last period, and PD 6. Binghamton 40, PD 25. Now, a lot of times, a lot of people were saying, Taylor, that what Binghamton did to Brendan Colgan in the regular season doesn't matter. And I disagree on that for a lot of reasons. The Black Bears, yes, played against a Watertown team that did not give him a lot of defense, but they saw where they could shoot on him and score goals. They need to go back and remember those moments, because he still probably does a lot of the same stuff as he did back then today. And if they can remember that and exploit that, they'll have a better chance of scoring goals against him, regardless of what defense they put up against the Black Bears. I want to say that.
I agree 100%. As far as like facing Colgan, the scores of the regular season, they don't matter because he was with Watertown, and obviously Pee Dee's a very much different team than Watertown was playing in front of him.
Yes.
So as far as scoring wise, that doesn't matter. But as far as facing Colgan, that's what matters.
Yes.
And that, we faced him so many times that it really helped get an understanding of how he plays, how, does
how
he have
he
weak spots? Where are his weak spots?
Yes.
Exactly. How he reacts. Does he crush under the pressure? Does he not like it if Sirota or Tyson or anybody gets in his face? Does he try to take swings at people?
There
does he, anything like that, anything to give them an edge? And I think that's something that, again, I'm going to bring up Port Huron a little bit here.
Oh boy.
I think that's something that Port Huron kind of learned was, we didn't face them a ton in the regular season, but I think we faced them enough in that, Port Huron didn't win very many battles against us in the regular season. But, going into the playoffs, Paulin finally went, oh, well, we know how to beat them. And then they came and did that. So did they learn something about Tomei? And that's what they came in and they were, that's what they focused on was how to beat Tomei. And they finally figured something out after facing us 9 times, whatever the situation was. It's definitely, it's something to look at if, your biggest issue standing between you is the person in between the pipes. And we've faced them a bunch of times.
Yeah,
they're going to have a slight advantage on that. Yeah. And again, Colgan played a great game and you had a good weekend. I'm not the biggest Colgan fan just because I don't think he's the best goalie out there. That's my opinion. He played great for his team and that's a good thing. You should be happy about that. But as far as Binghamton versus Colgan, I would say Binghamton wins every time. And that's just versus Colgan. I'm not saying with Pee Dee or with Watertown. I'm just saying against Colgan.
Fair enough.
It's just my opinion.
All right. Let's tie this one up in a bow, and so we can talk about this upcoming week.
Black Bears escape Pee Dee with a 2-1 win, tie the finals at 1. Austin D'Orazio scored his first goal of the playoffs. Dan Stone scored his first goal of the playoffs. Dominic Tomei saved 22 of 23 shots in the win, improving his record to 5-2. The Black Bears tie the series at 1, with the finals now moving to Binghamton for at least a Game 3 and a Game 4, which will be played Friday the 8th and Saturday the 9th.
Absolutely. And we won't get a win on the 8th, which means that we cannot win the championship on the 8th, so that eliminates the whole 8th, 9th, and 10th scenario when it comes to when they've won the championship. So it'll either be a 9th, which was this anniversary of, I think, the first one. So 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I guess it's 3 years ago, right? Or on the 10th, which would be Sunday, which let's hope it doesn't go that route. I do not want to work 3 games this upcoming week. I mean, I will if we have to. Don't get me wrong. If we have to, I will. I just don't want to. Nobody wants to 3-3. Let's just be honest.
I don't want that, but I mean, what an interesting series it would be.
Yeah, it would. Coming up this Thursday on the Power Play Post Show, an interview with a former champion. Taylor, should we announce who will be on the show?
I don't know. Part of me wants to keep it a little bit of a secret. I definitely think we should. And
okay.
I think
go ahead.
It'll be, I think it's somebody that everybody wants to hear from.
Okay, so here's the deal. I'll be recording with this person on Tuesday evening. Okay, so you're listening to this now. You've got 48 hours before I'm going to record with this person. Taylor, go ahead and tell everybody who I'm going to be interviewing on Thursday. Now, this is a former Binghamton hockey champion, somebody who's won a championship here in Binghamton before. We did Cody Bass 2 years ago. I did Barry Brust last year. This year, who am I recording with?
It is none other than the Don father, Don Oliveri.
That's right. Don's going to come on. He's watched the games. He knows what's happened. He's going to help us break down what's going to happen between Binghamton and PD and what the guys are thinking about this upcoming week as they lead into games 3 and 4 and potentially a game 5 as well. So it'll be very, very cool. Plus, we'll have audio from the Black Bears press conference and our thoughts on what the Black Bears will need to do to win their 3rd straight championship. That's what's coming up on the Power Play Post Show.
I truly can't wait for the interview. Don's always a very interesting person to talk to.
Yes.
And it's kind of bittersweet because I know everybody wanted him to come back this year.
Yeah.
And I know everybody wanted some type of trade to be made that could have never worked. But it would definitely be nice to see him back here in Binghamton. And again, I want him just to sit in the penalty box. Like that's really just get that final picture of him in the penalty box, munching on some Twizzlers. Or, if he ends up coming to the game and we win the championship, have him out there and just handing out Twizzlers to everybody, I think it would be pretty funny. So I'm very excited for this interview. I'm truly interested to hear what he's got to say, especially knowing that he's been paying attention to what's going on.
He's been watching the games.
It's definitely awesome to know that Binghamton leaves such a special spot in everybody's heart that they want to keep checking in and they keep coming back around. They keep thinking about it and they keep talking about it, no matter where they are. And, you hear about it all the time, whether it's, Dakota Bond or Josh Fletcher, or even Matthew Boylard, who's, has said things about Binghamton. So
he pays attention.
Awesome.
He pays, Matthew pays attention to Binghamton and what's happening here. So, which is pretty cool. So that's what's coming up. Which is pretty cool. Listen, the series has already been great. It's been a lot of fun. It's the first time that the Black Bears have lost in the finals in their franchise history. So PD, awesome job on that part. The games have been entertaining to a degree. And number 3, the PD's fans, they showed up. I mean, let's be honest. They had over 13,000 fans in attendance between the 2 games. Great job. We're not going to be able to compete with that. We might have 2 sellouts on Friday and Saturday for sure, but we'd never be able to, get another 2,000 fans in the arena. And if we did, I probably would not go into the arena because that would be way too many people in there, and I would be a little freaked out. But that's just me.
The one thing I want to say about the fans in PD, and I wasn't at the games, so I can't entirely attest to everything that went on, but a lot of the comments that I have seen from our own fans about being in PD or just fans that have heard of other people, their experiences there in PD, was that it was a wonderful experience, that everybody was so nice, that, the people who hung out, after the game and met some of the players and that kind of nature, everybody all around was super nice. And that truly is awesome to hear. It really is. Because I know that these games can get very intense and very serious and a lot of, the back and forth stuff that happens, especially on Facebook. But to be able to hear that the fan base down there was just so welcoming and so awesome to all the Binghamton fans and family that were down there was truly awesome to hear.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So that's pretty much it. The Power Play Post is available on all major podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Taylor listens to us on Spotify, right?
Apple Podcasts mostly. Ooh. I did start with Spotify.
Yeah. Then you moved over to Apple?
Yeah, because I'm not a big Apple person, and I've had an iPhone for couldn't even tell you how long. Ever since I've been with him, probably. But I'm still learning Apple stuff.
Fair enough. Join the conversation on Facebook, search Power Play Post Show, and become part of our community. Be sure to like and comment and share. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey? Visit binghamtonhockey.net, your go-to source for stats, history, and all things Binghamton Hockey. Thanks to Rob Lepolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our music director, and from the Binghamton Black Bears, Jacob Shankar and Camron Cervone. Taylor, one more time, who's going to be on the Power Play Post Show this upcoming Thursday?
Dawn Oliveri.
And I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And we'll talk to you guys next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.